You guys ever wondered what it's like to get fucking doxxed? Well, it really sucks. Usually it's because someone posted some unethical or hateful rhetoric, or provoked the internet in some way, or just stood in some lettuce. Whatever the reason, sometimes it's deserved. And sometimes it's not deserved. Doxing is often viewed as an act of vigilante justice or retaliation against those the internet deems deserving, exposing their private lives to the world, leaving them vulnerable to whatever consequences may follow. Hi, I'm Epic Alex Time, and if you don't know, in 2012 I was doxxed after my friend posted the infamous Burger King foot lettuce photo on 4chan. A photo of me standing in 2 bins of lettuce at Burger King with the caption,
"This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King,"
led to me being ridiculed nationwide and immortalized in internet history. A harsh lesson for myself and even others about thinking twice about the content you post online. I have a separate video where I talk about this in detail, but today's video is about other people getting doxxed and the resulting consequences that followed. I gotta say, I'm really grateful Burger King decided not to release my identity for whatever reason back then, because things could have been so much worse. We'll start off with the case of Jessie Slaughter. The year was 2010, and Facebook had just overtaken MySpace, meme culture was in its infancy, and I was in 10th grade. I know, I'm old as f***. A gossip and drama website called Sticky Drama would be the catalyst for one of the internet's most infamous doxing incidents. The site was heavily focused on the emo and scene culture, documenting drama, feuds, and scandals within the MySpace community. The good old days of MySpace. In familiar fashion, this situation will begin with a single post. However, the contents would be very disturbing, accusing a popular musician, Davey Vanity, of having a sexual relationship with an 11-year-old girl, Jessica Leonhardt. Jessica was a popular internet micro-celebrity at the time, known online as Jessie Slaughter. She would respond to this post by denying the rumor and claim the relationship was platonic. She would later post a video on YouTube calling people haters and uttering the infamous phrase,
"Stop hating, but you know what? I'll pop a Glock in your mouth and make a brain slushy."
This video would quickly grab the attention of 4chan, where all downfalls manifest. Soon, users would gain access to Jessica's Facebook, where they obtained her home address. It wasn't long before her address was leaked online, and people found her home's phone number and school details, which would later lead to a bomb threat scare at Jessie's school. She would be a victim of harassment, getting non-stop phone calls, and someone even hired a prostitute who would show up at her front door. The harassment escalated rapidly, with death threats, prank calls, and even swatting attempts. Jessie would respond with another YouTube video, where her and her father would address the doxers, both visibly upset. This just fanned the flames.
And I know who it's coming from, because I backtraced it!
Instead of scaring off trolls, this became a meme and only made things worse. The phrase, "you done goofed," became an internet catchphrase.
You will have to deal with the police, because you done goofed.
The police would get involved, who would later place the family under police protection. The fallout would just continue to get worse. In 2011, the police would receive a call regarding a domestic disturbance at the Leonhardt household. The call was reportedly made by Jessie's mother, who claimed that her husband, Gene, had physically assaulted her during an argument. Jessie's father, Gene Leonhardt, would be arrested for alleged domestic battery. Not long after, he would unfortunately pass away due to complications from a heart condition. Some speculate that the stress from the harassment contributed to his declining health, but the official cause was linked to a pre-existing heart issue. I'm sure it certainly didn't help his health, as this was obviously a very stressful situation. Everything would just continue to get worse. Due to concerns about abuse, neglect, and instability, reports suggest that Child Protective Services intervened and placed Jessie into foster care. It goes without saying that this whole situation would cause her mental health to rapidly decline. She was placed into psychiatric care multiple times. Jessie's struggles were compounded by the public nature of their humiliation and the pressure of being an internet sensation at such a young age. I can only imagine how scared and powerless you would feel in a situation like this, especially as a child. She later revealed that the experience destroyed her childhood and contributed significantly to their struggles with mental health issues. Jessie has since spoken about how these difficult experiences led to long-term emotional challenges. They have tried to reclaim their identity and heal over the years. The story is just really sad, The internet was just ruthless back then. There wasn't really any social or ethical policing. People just kind of targeted who they wanted, and no one really messed with them because they didn't want to get targeted themselves. And this poor 11-year-old girl got her life completely ruined. This next one is the story of Permit Patty. Everyone respects a hustle at a young age. I myself used to sell cans of soda from my driveway for some extra cash for Pokemon cards. I also went door to door selling my sister's Beanie Babies. Anyways, on June 22nd, 2018, an 8-year-old African-American girl named Jordan Rogers was selling bottled water on the sidewalk near her home in San Francisco, California. Jordan was selling them for $2 each to help raise money for a trip to Disneyland because her mother, Erin Austin, had recently lost her job. Their apartment was located near AT&T Park, where a San Francisco Giants game was happening, so there was plenty of pedestrians walking around. When a confrontational Karen named Allison Attell, who lived in a building nearby, approached Jordan and Erin. Allison told them that they needed a permit to sell the water and demanded to see the permit. What a Karen. When they didn't provide one, Attell allegedly threatened to call the police. The mother began to suspect racial bias, so she began recording the confrontation with her phone. The video shows Attell on the phone, crouching behind a concrete wall while still visible, which made it look like she was sneaking around and avoiding being filmed. The mother posted the video on Instagram with the caption, "This woman don't want to let a little girl sell some water. She's calling the police on an 8-year-old child." People later described her as petty and privileged, an understandable sentiment for a woman who has nothing better to do than harass a child. Critics argued that calling or pretending to call the police over such a trivial issue was an example of white privilege, especially considering past incidents where black people were confronted by authorities for minor infractions. The video quickly gained traction and was posted to Twitter, where it went viral overnight, gaining millions of views. People were quick to do some digging on Permit Patty and identified her full name, job, and other personal information. It was revealed that Allison was the CEO of Treatwell Health, a cannabis company that specialized in CBD products for pets. Social media users flooded her company's pages, urging customers and business partners to cut ties with her. Dispensaries immediately began disassociating with Allison, and within 24 hours she was forced to resign from her position at the company due to overwhelming backlash. Attell tried to explain and justify herself in multiple interviews, but never really apologized. She claimed that she wasn't targeting the two over race, but the damage was already done. Allison deleted her social media and vanished from the public eye. The nickname Permit Patty became a meme and a shorthand for white women who used law enforcement to police black people in non-criminal situations. Permit Patty is a strong example of how public opinion and social media can instantly flip a person's life upside down. Our next story is a similar situation where racial bias contributed to someone's downfall. On May 25th, 2020, a confrontation over a seemingly trivial matter would result in another life-ruining debacle. It was a quiet day in New York's Central Park where Christian Cooper was birdwatching. Amy Cooper, who was a white woman and a vice president at Franklin Templeton, an investment firm, was walking with her dog through the park without a leash. I just realized these two have the same last name. They're not related. The wooded section of the park required dogs to be leashed by law. Christian, a black man and a former editor for Marvel Comics, was known to carry dog treats with him to encourage dog owners to leash their pets. He saw Amy's dog unleashed and politely asked her to leash it. Amy refused, and as the interaction became heated, Christian pulled out his phone to record. Amy became visibly upset and demanded that he stop recording her. As Christian kept filming, Amy eventually dialed 911 and in an increasingly frantic voice said, "I'm in the Ramble and there's an African-American man threatening my life. That's one crazy." Christian continued to record as he stood still and Amy's distress intensified. After making the call, Amy leashed her dog and left the scene. I think she's the type of of person to indirectly invite confrontation just for attention. Later that day, Christian posted the video online. Within hours, the video was seen all over Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook and gained millions of views. The public demanded that Amy face some sort of consequences. She was quickly identified and users dug up her LinkedIn, social media, and workplace information. Her full name, address, and employer were leaked online. The internet labeled her the Central Park Karen, part of a growing trend of white women using 911 as a weapon against black people. Many people considered this as intentionally using racial bias in order to escalate the situation. Her employer fired her the very next day and issued a statement. Following our internal review, we have terminated the employee involved in the Central Park incident. We do not tolerate racism of any kind. The consequences would continue to get worse, as the animal shelter from which she adopted her dog temporarily took the dog back due to concerns about how she handled it during the confrontation. She even faced criminal charges for filing a false police report. However, in February 2021, the charges were dropped after she completed a restorative justice program focused on racial bias. She literally had to go to a class to learn how to not be racist. After the fallout, Amy issued a public apology stating that she was deeply ashamed and sorry for her actions. However, as time passed, she began to shift blame, claiming she felt genuinely threatened by Christian's words and actions. In May 2021, Amy would go on to sue her former employer, claiming that they wrongfully terminated her in an effort to appease an online angry mob. She alleged that Franklin Templeton discriminated against her because of her race and gender. Well, isn't that ironic? Ultimately, her entire life was dismantled in less than 24 hours, showing how fast the internet identifies, shames, and punishes people. Judging how she reacted in the aftermath, I think she deserved all this. She completely avoided all accountability, and the one time she apologized, she backtracked on it. This next story is of Martin Shkreli. Shkreli? Shkreli. Martin Shkreli was a hedge fund manager and CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals, and in 2015 he became one of the most hated figures on the internet after his company acquired the rights to a life-saving drug, Daraprim, used to treat toxoplasmosis in immunocompromised patients, including those with HIV and AIDS, and raised its price from $13.50 to $750 per pill overnight. Shkreli quickly became the face of corporate greed, and people expressed their outrage on social media. Memes, videos, and news reports painted him as the ultimate villain of the pharmaceutical industry. His smug demeanor in interviews and his lack of remorse only fueled the fire. As public anger grew, hackers and internet vigilantes began digging into his personal life and leaking his address, phone number, and email on multiple platforms like Reddit and 4chan. Shortly after that, his social security number and financial records were allegedly posted on the dark web. People were attacking him in any and every way. Even his LinkedIn was flooded with fake job applications. Shkreli would embrace his villain status. He began trolling people online and brag about his wealth and openly laugh about the price hike during his live streams. Naturally, this fueled the fire and made people even angrier. Harassment would turn into death threats. False police reports were regularly filed on him in an attempt to have him investigated and found guilty for something. A petition was even created to have him thoroughly investigated. People were convinced that he was a criminal in some capacity. The government complied and began an investigation on his hedge fund activities. Later that same year, following the Daraprim price hike, he would be arrested and convicted 2 years later on 3 counts of securities fraud in 2017. While awaiting sentencing for securities fraud, Shkreli was caught using a contraband phone in prison to continue running his pharmaceutical business, reinforcing his reputation for disregarding rules. In 2018, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for defrauding his investors and ordered to forfeit $7.36 million in assets. He lost his company, and the drug price scandal led to new regulations on pharmaceutical pricing. Hey, at least something good came out of this. But there should have already been a law about this. Do you guys remember the monopolization of insulin, where it went up like 1,000% in price despite having no significant changes in its formula? Martin claimed that the price hike was necessary to compensate for the $55 million price tag for the patent, and only aimed at the insurance companies. He claimed that he continued to sell the drug to the states for only $1. The price hike did not directly affect individuals' insurance premiums, as they're influenced by many factors. However, insurance companies did adjust their coverage for Daraprim. Some insurance placed it on a higher tier formulary, meaning patients faced higher copays or prior authorization requirements before they could get it, ultimately profiting at the expense of sick people. He would go on to explain that using his profits for drug development research doesn't make him a bad person. However, most people were concerned with the immediate ramifications and the absurd nature of a 5,000% price hike on a drug that people need. Martin was released from prison on May 18, 2022 on good behavior. After his release, he was permanently banned from working in the pharmaceutical industry, following a lawsuit by the Federal Trade Commission where he was ordered to pay $64.6 million in damages for illegally monopolizing the drug Daraprim. That's a whole lot of cheddar. Shkreli used the internet to gain attention, but it turned against him when he became too reckless. His trolling and arrogance invited public outrage, which led to intense scrutiny, legal consequences, and financial ruin. In the end, he wasn't just punished for his crimes, he was punished for being one of the most hated figures on the internet. Our last story is the story of Adam Smith and the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. In 2012, a primarily American franchise, Chick-fil-A, was facing major controversy over its stance on same-sex marriage. In July, the president and COO of the company, Dan Cathy, participated in an interview for the Biblical Recorder, a Christian-based publication based in North Carolina. In the interview, he openly opposed same-sex marriage. Am I missing something? Like, what does this have to do with chicken? I don't think at a food franchise having an opposing opinion on marriage is going to stop someone from getting married. It was revealed that Chick-fil-A's charity foundation, the WinShape Foundation, had donated millions of dollars to organizations that opposed same-sex marriage and LGBTQ+ rights. Look, I don't care what anyone says, that's never not going to be a mouthful. LGBTQ, didn't they add IA too? So it's LGBTQ+, LGBTI, some of which actively worked against equality laws and supported things like conversion therapy. This sparked outrage from the LGBTQ+ activists and called for boycotting Chick-fil-A restaurants and products altogether. The controversy polarized the brand and made it a symbol for both conservative Christian values and LGBTQ+ opposition. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee would even go as far as declare Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day on August 1st, 2012, urging supporters to eat at Chick-fil-A restaurants in support of Cathy's views. Adam Smith, who was a chief financial officer of Vante, a medical supply company, would publicly make bold claims against the Chick-fil-A brand and advocate for boycotting. When Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day approached, Adam would go to a Chick-fil-A drive-thru and ask for a free water and record himself harassing an employee. He would proceed to berate her at the window and tell her that they were a hateful organization and say, "I don't know how you live with yourself and work here." After recording the incident, he uploaded the video to YouTube, seemingly proud of what he had done. But instead of being praised, his plan backfired spectacularly. Almost immediately, the internet turned on Smith. Though his video was quickly deleted, users had already re-uploaded it across multiple platforms. People began digging into his identity, and within hours, they had discovered his full name, home address, and place of employment. The backlash was swift and brutal. People bombarded his employer with complaints, saying that someone in a high-ranking corporate position shouldn't behave this way. His company responded almost immediately, firing him from his CFO position within a day, and releasing a public statement distancing themselves from his actions. During the fallout, Adam struggled to find work as he was seen as unemployable. A quick Google search would reveal the viral video of him berating the drive-thru employee. He stated that he applied for over 100 jobs, but he was repeatedly turned down because of the incident. The once wealthy CFO would lose his home and eventually have to rely on government assistance like food stamps. Years later, Smith would speak about the incident, saying that he deeply regretted posting the video and never expected it to ruin his life. Smith's downfall became a cautionary tale about the power of the internet and how quickly public opinion can shift. While many agreed with his stance on LGBTQ+ rights, the way he handled the situation, publicly shaming an innocent employee, led to backlash far greater than he anticipated. Ultimately, whether people deserve it or not, doxing can completely ruin someone's life. And I think stories like these have some valuable lessons in them for us. Be careful who you piss off online, and that goes for the real world as well. Because if someone with the resources decides that you need to be taught a lesson, sometimes you're completely powerless. And that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know I had a lot of fun making this video, and I'm looking forward to making more of them like this in the future. Thank you to all my subscribers. And if you don't want to get doxxed, subscribe right now. And join the Discord, link in the description. The Foot Lettuce family is strong. And if you want to support me, there will be a link to my Patreon in the description as well. You'll be helping me out a lot. And that's it, guys. Till next time, Foot Lettuce Guy out.